Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Autumn Candle Luminary demonstration. I'm Kate from What Kate Made. You might notice it's a bit dim in here today because I've closed my curtains because I wanted to make it a bit darker to show you what we'll be making. However, it's not very dark, but we'll have a look anyway. Just let me point the camera down. So, oops, it's going to fall over. Can you see? So this is what we're going to be making today. Both of these are autumn leaf luminaries. So this one has got fairy lights in it, and it's made in a decoupage. So the leaves have been cut out of tissue and stuck on. Now this one is different. This one is the opposite, if you like. So this has had stencils put on it, and then painted over. So the leaves, the light shines through the leaves. Can't really see that very well at the moment because of it's not very dark, and that is a electric tea light because I didn't want to have live burning things. But those are both what we're going to be making today. Now, let me just point you back up again. I'm sure it's light enough for you to see what I'm doing, so I may not need to put the light on or open the curtains. So I'm just going to pop those to one side and we'll go through the materials that you need. Can you see me? Yeah. I'm trying to get your comments up, but I'm not succeeding very well. It doesn't seem to be one. There you go. You're live now, so I've got my comments up, so you can say hello. Let me know who's watching. Good morning, Irene. Irene watches every weekend. Is always first. Okay, so what we need today is for the relief one, this one, you need a jar. You need I've used wide masking tape. If you've got sticky back vinyl or something you can make a template out of, if you have spray mount, which I don't, you could just cut them out of paper and spray mount them on. It needs to be something you can remove again. So this is what I had. It's extra wide masking tape. You need a brush. You need paint. Now, what I've got here is Crafters acrylic. This is really good because it's quite thick. You still need several layers when you're doing it on glass, but Crafters acrylic or artist's acrylic, don't be tempted to go for the very cheap big ones because they're quite watery. They're great for kids, but you have to do several layers. Morning, Donna. So what else do we need? We need handy things to have, a cotton buds, because you might get a bit of leakage that you need to clean up. You also need your leaf template sheet, which was on the link for this demonstration. And I've chosen to use out of the template mostly the sort of sycamore style leaves and the oak leaves, just because they're interesting shapes. The smaller ones are the ones I've used, not the bigger ones. I did try and use the bigger ones, but they were, if you've got a big jar, use the bigger ones. So those are the ones I'm going to keep out. You'll also need a pencil and some scissors. And for the other decoupage style one, you will need tissue paper, watered down PVA or Mod Podge if you've got lots of money to splash. And that's about it for that one. And again, your templates. Okay, so we'll start with the luminary. And because there's going to be paint drying and everything, I've had to do a little bit of prep ahead. So it'll be a bit like his one I made earlier. Right, so let me just move everything out of the way and bring the camera forward a little bit so you can see my work out. Now today I've chosen, oops, sorry, just bear with me, my camera's slipping in the tripod. Better. I've chosen to leave my cloth on the table simply because my tape isn't low tack, and so it needs you need to lay it on something to get some of the glue off it, basically. So I don't know whether you can see that, but what I've done is stick a piece of the low tack, the wide tape to my cloth here. And then I'm going to draw round my template. Now, my tape is slightly not wide enough, so I do have to fudge it a little bit. I've already cut out some oak leaves, but I'm just drawing around this with a pencil. It's easy to draw on this masking tape. The hard part is cutting it out because it's very sticky. So that's my drawing. I don't know whether you can see that. I'm going to peel this off so I can cut it out and hopefully not tear it to peel it off. And if you've done this, you can see it's actually got quite a bit of the tackiness on the back. So can you see that? Anyway, the next thing is cutting it out. And as I say, it's difficult to cut out because it's sticky. Use old scissors. These are what some of I bought that weren't as sharp as I thought. So I've just used them for glue. So I'm going to gently, and one of the ways I found easiest to cut it out is to not try and cut all the way around it, but to cut out the little wedges in between. It doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be near enough. But I found it easier to remove sections rather than trying to follow the line all the way around. And it does curl up as well, so you need to, it's quite difficult. If you can get spray mount, or if you've already got spray mount, you need the removable one, so positionable, I think they call it. It's similar glue to what you get as sticky notes, post-it notes, so you can move them around. But as I say, this is what I had in. I'm not a person who will buy stuff for one project that I might never use again, because I think that is quite wasteful. And this was on the shelf in the garage, so that's what we're using. I'm going to not put the stalk on it simply because it's quite difficult when you come to peel it off. So there we go. I've got my leaf cut out and ready. A little bit tacky still. So the next thing I need is my jar. Now this jar has got a lid. The previous jar, the jar I used yesterday, didn't have a lid, so I'm going to show you why that's good later. Now I've already cut out my oak leaves and they're sticking on. They are peeling a little bit, so you must be aware that they will do that. And now I'm going to put chosen to put 3 on this one. It might be too many, but I just thought it would. Actually, no, I don't think I will. Yeah, well, we'll just leave it. So I've got my stencil stuck on. They may not. Your glass needs to be washed with warm soapy water and be grease free, otherwise the templates won't stick on. They will stick on enough to get me through this project. Okay, so I've got my paint palette here. I've chosen to do this one in a dark red. This is called Antique Maroon. So you need quite a bit of paint and you need to do several layers. Now, obviously, you don't want to wait around while my paint dries. So I've already done one to the stage, fully painted, but not with the templates not released. So I'll show you the best method. My paintbrush is a wide one because we're covering quite a lot of area. It's a bit damp, actually. I've just washed the yellow off it. There we go. Load it up with paint. Now, put your hand in the jar. That's handy. I always start where the templates are and brush outwards. It may feel not the right thing to do but if you brush outwards all the way around your templates and then go back and do the bits in between, this brushing outwards helps stop any seepage under the edges. It won't stop it all. That's what the cotton buds are for afterwards. If you wanted your jars to be outside, you would definitely need lids on them. You would also need to varnish them with a clear varnish. clear waterproof varnish. I have a feeling that one isn't going to stick down as well. Sometimes if you warm it up with your fingers, it sticks better. So once you've been round all the edges of your template, brushing outwards so you're not getting any underneath the edge, you then can colour the rest. Now I always start at the top and work down. And you want to get right under, can you see that? Right under the edge, the rim of the jar. It's not going to cover absolutely perfectly, but just get it as much coverage as you can and then let it dry and then put another coat on. I've used 3 coats on mine, and it's quite a good coverage. That if you were using a cheaper paint, you'd probably have to put more on. Thinner layers are better. Good morning. Maureen's just joined us. Good morning, Maureen. Several thin layers are better than one thick layer. You'll find that if you have a thick bit, it doesn't dry as quickly, and then when you put the next layer on, the paint will pull off if it's not dry, and you'll get like a clear patch. Now acrylic paint goes on glass really well. On the instructions that I gave, I did think I was going to need to prime it, but as it turns out, I haven't needed to prime it. But if you felt you wanted to, just use a clear spray primer, and a modelling one. Right, I think that's fairly even coverage. It actually looks brown on the video, but it isn't. It's like an antique maroon. So I'm going to leave that to dry. Just put my brush in the water. You can help it along if you have a hairdryer. This is my old hairdryer that I always keep in my craft room. I'm going to have to do it off camera because you can hear it though. And that will help you drying along. You might find in the heat from the hairdryer that some of your templates lift, so just squish them back down. This is where you get painty fingers. Now I'm going to leave that one to dry, and I'm going to finish that one later. I'm going to end up with about 6 of these jars. So you carry on. Once it's dry, give it another coat, let it dry again, give it another coat. If it needs more after that, then you can give it another coat, but you don't have to. So this one I've got here is at the stage where it's had 3 coats. It's not quite dry there. That must have been a thicker bit. I've let it dry, so it's been standing for about 20-30 minutes while I got everything else ready for you. Some bits aren't quite dry yet, and somehow I've got a hair in it, but we'll ignore that. The next stage is to peel off the templates, and the easiest thing I found to use was a craft knife. And again, it's handy with the jar. You can put your hand inside it, although it's dry now. So very, very gently lift up your template, going all around the edges with the craft knife, and trying not to split, to scratch the outside paint. Now you can see there's been a little bit of seepage under the template. Just going to very gently try and lift it without breaking the outline. But we can clean that off because acrylic paint is water soluble. We can clean that off using the cotton buds and some water. There isn't an awful lot on this one. There was a lot more on the one I did yesterday. So I'll take my cotton bud, dip it in my water where my paint is, and then just gently wipe it away. You will need to keep dipping you probably need more than one cotton bud as well. Use the dry end to pick up any excess water. Good morning, Janet, and good morning, Lavina. Welcome. Thank you for joining. But I need to go to the clean end. And just gently remove that excess paint. So there. Now you do that with each of your templates. So I'll just quickly do these. I'll not clean up in between, but I want you to see the effect of when it's fully revealed. See, there's been a lot more seepage under that one because that's the one I cut out today, and I don't think it was sitting very well. I know this is a bit like watching paint dry, isn't it? Now, I don't know whether any of you joined me last week for the sock pumpkin demonstration, but there's been a tremendous amount of views on it. I'm very, very surprised and pleased at how many people have watched it. So there, again, we've got a bit of seepage. So I'll tidy that up a little bit. But remarkably less than I got on my first attempt. So I'm quite pleased about that. And you can always give it a bit of a shine up as well. I'm finding that the inside of the jar is going a little bit steamed up because my hands are sweaty. Last one. This one's coming off a lot easier. There we go. And again with a cotton bud. Nice to be finding a use for these cotton buds because I don't use them very much anymore as they're meant to be used. I used to use them to clean up my nail polish when it went over the edges. So yeah, there we go. And that is more or less it. Now, as lights go, I have a lot of, I like these. Get this one out of the other jar. These are copper wire, and they have this is your battery end with a switch on, so you can switch them on and off. I have loads of these because I really like them. And the reason I like them is you can stick the, and these bigger jars, you'll recognise a certain budget supermarket has jam in these jars. I'm not saying which one it is. And the lights will sit underneath. Now you can either use the fairy lights in it, or you can use your tea lights. The electric tea light I found is not quite. What you do with these is you just spread it out and pile it in, and then you can stick the lid under the switch under the lid, and then just put the lid on top. So you could paint the lid to match. If it'll paint on glass, it'll paint on. So that's quite nice. So that is the yellow luminary. I'm seeing that my paintwork is probably not the best, so I may have to kind of touch it up a little bit. But that's that one. Yeah, I'm just going to take that out because I need that for my next one. Oh, the final thing you can do is I've got this clear gloss varnish with this one. If you can see the difference, I gave it, this one's much shinier. It's very matte, it's the acrylic paint. So I wanted it to shine, and I wanted the windows, if you like, the apertures, to be a bit shiny as well. So I gave it a coat of the clear acrylic. You can either, this is the crafter's one, and it's just because I had it already. If you want to, I have a spray one as well, a spray varnish. You could use that as well. So the last thing on this one, because this one didn't have a lid, this jar, I must have lost it. I don't know whether you can see, but I trimmed the edge with some twine. That gives it that nice kind of rusticy look and just finishes it off a bit. So I'm going to pop these out on my autumn porch display. Just not yet. Okay, so that was the relief, the luminary with the window. The other one I was showing you is this one. This is more of a decoupage method. So we've got the autumn leaves cut out of tissue and arranged around it. And when you pile in your, again, this one doesn't have a lid, so I'm just piling it in. It gives you a nice sort of autumn leaf effect. It does look much more effective in the dark, I will say. The light glows through the tissue paper and gives a lovely coverage. Right, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So for this, you need another jar. You need watered down PVA glue, half and half. So half PVA, half water. Mod Podge, if you have it, but Mod Podge is just watered down PVA, so I don't use it. You need a sponge brush applicator for putting your glue on. A little pot to put your glue in, and your leaf template to use to cut out your tissue paper leaves. Now, what I did was cheated, and I put 3 pieces of tissue paper together, and I'm going to cut 3 out at once. I'm going to draw around my template again. Now with this one, it's up to you how many leaves you put on. You can just put a few on. I just overlapped mine slightly. You can overlap them a lot more. You can do big ones and little ones. I'm going to use the same scissors. They're a bit gluey now, so they may not work awfully well. But the easiest way to do it, I found, is to cut it off so you're not handling a big piece of paper. And then just cut round your leaf shape. This is the oak leaf. I've already cut out quite a few of the sycamore leaves, so I'm going to do this one in a mixture of the two. It's starting to feel quite autumny up here. I have to say, hold my hand up and say, I've set my heating on. But I've set it on very low, and I've set it only to come on when in the evening and the morning. During the day, we just have to put a jumper on. Hence, I've got a jumper on today. But I started to feel quite autumnal. Even, I mean, yesterday was sunny and very, very warm. But the light, the light looks tired and old, if that makes sense. And you can tell the sun's getting lower in the sky. So that's that. Now there's 3 oak leaves in orange and 2 different yellows. These bits, keep these. There's something I want to show you at the end that you could do with kids, because this is a bit fiddly for children, little children. But keep these. Don't throw them away. Okay. So we're ready to get going. I'm going to pop I always keep, when I get PVA glue down to about half, I mix it with the water, and I always keep one of these ready because I do quite a lot of decoupage. Oh, the other thing is it's got a bit gunged up with, and I left it start. So let's just give it a wipe with the cloth and squeeze it out. That should be enough. Just a covering in the bottom of my pot. I'm going to just set my tissue leaves off to one side, because this is going to be it's going to be messy. They can stick to that's my template. I've stuck to my leaves. They can stick to your fingers. So I want them where I can just pick them up easily. I've got several oak leaves, several sycamore leaves and a couple of oak leaves. Right, so if you take the lid off the jar, again, this is, you know, you'll be able to stick your battery bit of your light in there. And I'm going to paint on some of this. So the sponge, and I wouldn't recommend you do it all, just do a section at a time because you'll find it dries quite quickly. First one I'm going to do is a big red one. Very carefully lay it on and just pat it down. Curls under there. Don't matter if it overlaps the edge, that's fine. And then do another section. I think I'm going to put an oak leaf on there and I'm going to do it upright. Try not to put, this is just me. I don't like to put the colours together. So I wouldn't put red and another red. That's just me. And another section. And I'm going to go for some of my smaller sycamore leaves. I'm going to slightly overlap it because I quite like the effect you get from the colours overlapping. I haven't got an awful lot of red on this one. Some more glue. You don't need a lot of glue. I'm going to do the red one next. I'm going to have it fall in that way. And then I've got just space for one more. I'll put an oak leaf, an orange oak leaf on it. So again, just put some glue on. And I'll make it go across like that. So then you can have a look around and say, have I got room for another one? There might be room there for a yellow one to go over the edge. And you can just trim off this bit that goes over the edge afterwards. And possibly the same at this side, but going over the top. Just add a little bit more glue. I need to keep turning it to see where I've got spaces. I think actually that I'm going to call that a day for that one. Give it one last turn to see if there's anywhere you might want to add something extra. I think I'm happy with that. Now, what we need to do then is get the brush quite soaked in the glue and gently go over the tissue. I say gently because it will. It's very fragile now once it's wet. If you've ever done decoupage, you'll know how easy it is to tear they're usually napkins you use when you do move that one. Just very, very carefully go over your paper again to make sure it's very wet. It also will give it a nice shiny appearance. The PVA glue will dry clear. You won't see it. But neither do you want your tissue paper to come off. Word of warning, the red one seems to bleed ink out of it. So don't brush from your red onto your yellow because it will bleed out. I don't know whether your tissue paper might be different. But this is going to turn out really nice. So that's everything got a second coat all the way around. Bits like that, just brush them over the edge. So there we go. Now, as I say, I don't know whether you can see, that is still a little bit opaque. That will dry clear. This is the one I did yesterday and you can't see where the glue was. You can give it a coat of your varnish as well if you want it shiny or if you want it to be waterproof. But that is basically it. This is very simple to do. It needs stuff most crafters have got in the house. So brilliant. Leave it to dry. Now, just a couple of little things. I think we've got another 5 minutes. Oh, and that's not going to help it. Things I wanted to show you. These are my masking paper templates that have come off, that I peeled off both the jars I did. Now, they're still quite sticky, and I'm wondering if I could use them again. So I'm just going to test it while you're watching. Got an empty jar. I'm just going to see if it'll stick on again, because you could make several. Oh, they will. Look. You could make several. I'm going to end up with, I think, about 5 from my practices. So these are sticking back on again. Or you could just stick them on and leave them on. Similar to the decoupage one. I'm not sure how sticky they'd be. And the light probably won't shine through them in the same way. But there you go. Waste not, want not. Now, the other thing I was talking about was these little bits of tissue that I left. So if you have small children, they might want to make their own little luminary, but they might find it too difficult with the leaves because they're quite fragile once they're wet. So what you will do is, if you tear up your leftovers into little pieces, I don't think I've got another jar. I might have to demo on this plastic pot, which might not work as well. What I'm aiming to do is this. Now, this has a template under there. I had thought what I might do was make the tissue paper instead of the paint, but it didn't work. I can't get the template out of it. But I thought if you just put the lights in it, can you see how it glows through? Now, for children, this is easy because it's messy. They don't have to worry. Actually, I'm going to peel those off there and reuse that jar because it works better on glass than plastic. Okay, so with your PVA glue, I've just got a little bit left, so I'll just start to demo it. Just quickly do a section. Kids can do this, and then you get them to just stick their tissue on it. Your fingers will get sticky doing this, and just overlap it. You can leave gaps so the light shines through, that doesn't matter. But this is a great thing for kids to do. I did this last year for my Halloween kids crafts, and they loved it. And we also stuck a silhouette of a witch or a bat or something on it as well. So you got that bit, the light shone through the tissue but didn't shine through the silhouette of the bat. See, I'm getting carried away now. I just want to keep on sticking. This happens to me all the time. I come upstairs to tidy up in the craft room and I make something and I don't tidy up. Right, so you see how that works. You can carry on going around with that. So simple. Any child sort of old enough to pick up a paintbrush could do it. You might get a bit of mess and, you know, tissue papered fingers, but that's a super craft for autumn or Halloween, whichever way. So that is more or less done for today. Let me turn the camera back up. I don't know whether any of you joined me last week for the pumpkin demonstration, but it's had a tremendous amount of interest. I'm absolutely astonished at how many people have gone online to look at it. So I'm just going to show you these again. I shall pop them lights back in that jar. And so that is your decoupage leaf luminary with fairy lights. This is your relief one with a tea light. And I'm sure you'll agree that they're quite easy to do, particularly the decoupage one. All you need is tissue paper and glue. These are going to go down on my porch display, which every time I do an autumn craft demo for you, it's going to have, it's going to go on my porch display. It's going to be absolutely proud. The grand finale will be putting Halloween bunting up. So my next broadcast is not for a few weeks because we're going away. But the next one will be felt coasters made, autumn leaf shaped coasters. So again, we'll be using the leaf template and felt, and it'll be a little bit hand embroidery. And that'll be something you can use all year round. You don't have to just use it for autumn. Right, well, thank you for watching. I'm taking my cold downstairs now. I've had a bit of a cold, so I'm a bit squeaky. I shall catch up with you again in a few weeks after my holiday, and have a lovely day.